good afternoon, or almost good evening, I would say. In your first version, Wouter, you said nothing about the stick, but you said about showing your teeth. That's why I called my presentation, "Will showing our teeth solve our problem?" And the risk of being third in this little, let's say, little group of big publishers is, of course, that everything has been said already. So there's very little for me to add to this, which I will try anyway. I will get to the details of what we're now doing as an industry. A little bit on the end also about what Springer Nature is doing and thinks the strategy is in this. So we think SciHub and ResearchGate are very different, and I think that has been explained already. SciHub is a clear piracy site, has no other purpose than making those things available, suits nothing else. There's no other functionality on their platform, etc. Why we think social collaboration networks, and especially ResearchGate, are different is that they have a clear goal for the scientist, and Wouter has been clear enough on explaining what that is. People are there sharing and doing things. There's also a difference in willingness to engage. As you know, SciHub is really, well, we don't even know if they want to talk with us because we can't talk to them. They're unfindable. They're very difficult to reach, and we don't even know exactly where they are. The only thing that we know is that their ISP is on the Seychelles, and that's about it. And that their funder is from Kazakhstan, but is now seems to be in Russia, but we're not even 100% sure about that. So it's very difficult to engage with them, or let's say it's impossible to engage with them, which makes it impossible to talk about this kind of projects as Wouter described. So there is a very big difference between the two, and I want to stress that, because that means that we have to act differently to those also. SciHub is a major threat, because SciHub doesn't add anything to the system. What it does add to the customers, and again Wouter has been elaborated on that, what it does add is, well, it's easy. That's the major thing, and I totally agree with Wouter that making it so easy for them to get this position in the market is basically our own fault. We didn't see in time, or maybe not strong enough, that an upcoming need of our customers was to share and to talk about that and to do all kind of things for free. SciHub took only the for free part of that and made it available, and made it so easy for everything to become available that the scientists like to go there, although in many cases, as Wouter said, they are entitled to use our stuff on our platforms also. This could make you think, and I think strategically all of us should think about that, is in the long term this model of selling our content on our own platform still the viable model? Maybe that's something for the discussion later on. Because it will be sure, and maybe it's dangerous to say, but if you would ever be able to cut out SciHub in a sense, there is no guarantee that there is not a second SciHub coming up again immediately somewhere else. And that will go on and on always. And I've said, I think I said it here even a couple of years, 6, 7 years ago maybe, that we can publish things, and the moment we publish things, it will be actually before we officially publish it, it is available for free on the web anyway. So I would say to your question, Duncan, on does a publisher still make sense if everything is freely available anyway? Yes, very much. But it's not about the access to that result anymore. And I think that is an important question for the future of our industry, which I hope we're all, as said, thinking about. The SciHub has this image of, and that's the only thing you could maybe like about it, this Robin Hood-like image, like it's so difficult for all these poor people that don't have access to that very expensive scientific information. So we make it available to everybody, and very many people use the argument that it's very much used in the developing world. Well, this shows that it's at best only partly true. Africa is, as always, almost completely dark, and there is no almost use of SciHub there. The exception is a little bit Latin America. I can't imagine why that is, that the SciHub usage there is so high, even in countries like Brazil. Compared with Africa and Asia. But you see that most usage is in our, let's say, what we call our established markets. That's where it is. And strange enough, very much in Europe. Is it from every publisher? Well, I don't have the list of 5,000 publishers here, and I'm not sure you can read it in the end, in the back of the room. But this is the situation, what is on SciHub at the moment. They claim they have about 75% of all academic content available, or academic published content. And you see here very clearly, well, Elsevier, almost 100%, Springer Nature, almost 100%. And the difference between the 100 and the rest is most probably very old stuff, or that we even can't find ourselves anymore. So basically you can say there's full coverage of all content. And there is no reason to think that that is not true for all the smaller publishers. There is almost every publisher will be very, very visible on SciHub. Why should SciHub not exist? The major reason that SciHub shouldn't exist is that it is dangerous for library systems and also for our own systems. Because the way they work is that they hack into university systems and kind of rob the entitlement data for getting into the content. That's the major way they get into the content. When they have these data, they use a simple DUI search to go into these university systems and pick up the data that is asked for in their system. So what is dangerous about that is that nobody's sure where they come from and what their real intention is. And there's a lot of rumors about bad intentions. I'm not going to state that here or confirm, but there is thought that there might be more there than just robbing the content. And you see that hacking behavior on important American universities, mainly on American universities, that there is a behavior of these robots of SciHub coming in that could endanger these systems really. So that is one of the major things that we want to build awareness around with the library community. It steals passwords. As said, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't help open access. It only makes things available. And of course, it's bluntly illegal. There's nothing legal about it. It is real theft. Although my big friend Ross Mounds apparently doesn't agree that we can call that theft, but I would call it that. So, what are we doing? This is one of these slides that we have formed a group of well, let's not call it a coalition. It's a group of publishers that have decided that we now want to take action against SciHub because their position gets too important in the access field of scientific publishing, and we have this working group which has a couple of targets. The target is basically to shut down SciHub. And maybe it's good to add there that it's not just legally, because legally you can do a lot, and you see that Elsevier and ACS have done a lot already legally, but it doesn't really help. Because having the lady that runs that platform being eligible for arrest in the US doesn't really do anything until she visits the US, which I think she will avoid for the coming years. So it doesn't really, there's no, of course you should do something, but it doesn't really help to do too many things, or maybe it's a waste of time and effort to do too many things that won't help anyway. So we'd rather concentrate upon some other things. And therefore we have not just a legal group who is still looking into legal opportunities, but also look at the technical communications and university relations aspects of it. And what is it that we want to do there then? And we want to seek and test technological advancements to identify the misuse. So not only for SciHub, but also for other hacking sites that try to publish our stuff. We will collaborate with each other in that group, but also with other publishers to stop the efforts of misuse. And stopping you can do by trying to disrupt their uses as much as possible, by trying to close down USPs, etc., etc. There's a lot of technical opportunities to stop them, close IP addresses. Well, they will pop up immediately somewhere else again, but at best we have the longer breath than SciHub has, and we can fight it that way. But also partner a lot with the academic communities to make sure there is more understanding for the threat that SciHub means, and that there is an understanding that it is important that we fight this. So this is as said, it's a group of publishers that works together, very lightly helped by STM. But it's not an STM group. But all major publishers are in. Then ResearchGate. And ResearchGate is, as you know, a little bit a different story, and we have to be honest there. We as a group of publishers, also there as a group of publishers, have a little bit another approach than Elsevier ACS and the coalition for responsible sharing. Because that has actually the only reason why we differ in our approach is that we don't agree about the length of the stick. That is the major point. The major point is that we think there is still room to talk with ResearchGate about a solution that helps everybody into the next phase of academic publishing, which includes all kind of communication aspects of that, where the other, let's say, the coalition, thinks that it's time now to use the stick and hit them, as Wouter said. Quote. We think that we shouldn't do that because it will basically the only ones that will be hit by that stick will be the researchers that are using ResearchGate at the moment. So we will we will very long try to solve this issue within the reason of talking. And I think that is important because this is the reasons why researchers use ResearchGate. It is to share, talk, discuss, those kind of things. And not so much, although I know that there will be in the next presentation another number, and let's not discuss the numbers too much because they're shaky anyway, because they're all from different resources, so you're never sure what exactly is what. But in principle, this is what people use ResearchGate for. And we think it's important that we show that we that we are with these people, that we want to help them doing that sharing. And we think that is possible, and it's also possible to explain ResearchGate why sharing of illicit content is not necessarily part of their service, and find solutions that are different from just having them taken down. What we want is that every publisher can have their own version of how to work with ResearchGate, while we have a mechanism that ResearchGate uses to take off illicit content if we ask them to do that. And that is where we are with ResearchGate. There is this group of publishers. Don't get puzzled by all the groups of publishers, but this is the publisher. We're now with 7, and 3 are still talking with us. And we are talking with ResearchGate. Unfortunately, I cannot say anything about the content of these talks, because that, of course, is under an NDA. But in principle, we're talking about solving the issue of the use of the posting of the public posting of illicit content on ResearchGate. So it's only about the manner on how we do that and how much we want to use the stick to ResearchGate, and nothing more than that. I think the end goal is the same, and maybe in the end the two approaches together work best. Let's hope for that. So that's ResearchGate. The last thing I want to say is a little bit Springer Nature advertisement, as you're used to from me. We think in the end that this is all it's all discussion about the very near future, but not about the real future. It's all taking us away from where we want to go in the end. And Springer Nature is committing completely to open access as a solution for these issues. As long as the sharing of stuff is done in the end in open access under the right user license, open access solves in principle the problem of illicit copyrighted material on the web. And we strongly think that we should go fast there. And we should push for more open access, gold open access. And Therefore, we are very actively, and this is a little bit also to give a little response to the discussion this morning about where does this all go and how does this work with flipping and etc. etc. Our strategy is that we flip by country and not by journal, which in our view is, as long as the world is not one world of funding manners, is impossible. You will never be able to get everybody behind that plan. So what we do is we go country by country, and then at once, and I hope David is not there anymore, but at once you see that it can be very successful. 77% of our publications in the UK are gold open access, 90% in Sweden. And so in these countries, open access is at once a fact. And of course that causes trouble on other sides of the business, of course, but that's not the problem of these European countries that want to move. And that is our thinking. We should help them whenever they want and try to establish a world where open access becomes more and more the norm, and for that reason also will migrate easier into other areas. To be able for a country to flip, as we call that now, flipping by country, you need the support from a government and from the universities. And the UK has been a front runner in that and has done a very good, in our view, a very good job. And I hope that the invitation this morning from David to talk again will be followed up by as many publishers as possible. Of course, there is funding must be available. There must be the willingness to fund for APCs. For gold open access, because you could even debate if flipping still has APCs. You need authors, of course, who are willing to publish with open access. It's also you shouldn't forget that detail, because there's a lot of authors that don't want to publish with open access. And even in the UK, where in principle 100% for every author could publish open access for free with Springer Nature, only 77% does this. So there is 23% that doesn't want to do that. So there is authors that you need to do it. And of course, publishers have to be ready to move. And if you have these 4 conditions, we are happy to push for open access, country by country. And of course, all kinds of other things. I won't bother you too much with this, but of course we have shared it, where every article that we publish can be shared by a link to the full open access version. We have things like SciGraph, where we make tons of metadata freely available. We're part of that coalition that makes the references openly available, as you might know. So that kind of things, let's say the things that make steps for subscription content become more open than it ever has been before. Things like open access book metrics. Book metrics is a reference system for books, which is the next step in opening up all kind of reference information about books. So of course there's all these other things that we do, but we really think that the step to open access is the next one to really seriously set. Thank you. No? No?